All right, so we've seen how to create Boolean operations using Dynamesh, but there's actually a kind of a new and improved way of doing it. It's not that new anymore, I guess, probably a couple 3 years old now. It's called Live Boolean, and it is pretty cool. I'm going to go ahead and we'll just make this Polymesh 3D. And we'll go ahead and duplicate that little subtool there. I'm going to scoot it over so we have an intersection, and then enable the negative Boolean option here as we did with the regular old Dynamesh process. And now I'm just going to turn on Live Boolean. I believe Live Boolean lives inside render. So you've got this option here, render Booleans, and then I just pulled the button out because I use it all the time. And that's what you get. The thing that's cool about it is it's live. So you can do whatever you want, and you'll see that those changes update. So I can, for instance, I can grab this and we'll just do a mirror and weld on it. I guess it depends on which direction X is. Yeah. And again, it's live, so it doesn't make that much difference. I can do that mirror and weld now, and we can see what the result is going to be. So I have polyframe turned on, so you can kind of see we're getting this this result. If I turn it off, it's just going to look like this, which is very nice. So, but this is just a preview, just like the dynamic subdivision is just a preview. This is not actually modifying this geometry. If you have a lot of these, then it can slow your rendering down because it's doing some fancy stuff under the hood. And I can show you a model here in a second that's got some examples of this. But anyway, but this, because it is just a preview, you're probably at some point you're going to want to generate actual geometry from this. So I'll just show you what that looks like. It's going to be, all right, I got it. If there's something that I need to use a lot, I just pull it out into my own custom UI here, and oftentimes I just have to look around a little bit to find out where it actually lives by default. But in the subtool menu, if you go down here to Boolean, you'll see there's this make Boolean mesh. So watch what happens when I press it. Nothing happened. And the reason is it actually made a new dedicated piece of geometry as a separate subtool. So let's just take a look at this while we have it. What it did is it kept as much of the original geometry as it could, and then just actually did sort of a classical Boolean by triangulating the intersection. And that's a totally fine way to do it. You get a pretty good result, but it's not something that you probably wouldn't get clean bakes out of it, to say the least, and also it's going to be impossible to sculpt on. So for this kind of thing, I usually wait until the very end of the project before I start actually generating the resulting Booleans. I just leave it in this kind of preview state for a while. But once you get to this point, you can always just Dynamesh it and kind of run through the rest. So I'll just go do that real quick. So that resolution is probably not good enough. Let's bump it up to 512. You can do a Dynamesh here. So now we have a nice clean boundary, and if we wanted to clean that stuff up, there's a few options that we can pursue. The first one is we can just do a little bit of a polish. I mean, it doesn't need to be clean because it's actually like a very, very nice border, but we still have this faceting here. So, you know, ideally, like if this really mattered, I would have cleaned the geometry up prior to the Boolean operation. But you can see here, we're getting a little bit smoother, but it's getting this kind of weird little lip on it. So I'm just going to use a clip curve brush. So that'll be over here. And if I am smart and can remember to turn on my symmetry, then I can only do that. I only have to do that one time. And I've turned perspective off, otherwise you won't get this nice consistent result. But there you go. That's a really, really convenient way for doing this kind of operation. And we're not limited here, right? I can keep doing whatever I want. Let's say we're gonna throw some of these cylinders in here, or whatever this shape is called. I'm gonna pull it out, and I don't know, maybe we make a few of these. So if you hold Control, you can drag out clones. Just rotate these around like whatever. Maybe they can be a little bit bigger. So I'm going to do an auto groups. And then let's see, where are we? Poly groups. We'll go ahead and merge similar groups so you can see they are now all on the same little thing there. To mask that, we'll come over here and just scale these up. So if I just scale Even if you're just using this one, if I scale, the default behavior is going to kind of scale from the origin, and we'll spin the stuff out so it's not really intersecting anymore. But if you go to this local symmetry, which is probably, yeah, here we go, in your transform menu, if you don't have it out here, what that'll do is it'll keep the transform, that whatever you do will be local. So that's kind of convenient. And now that we've got that, we can come over and do our live Boolean once again. We just have to set our options. So we'll have to split this off. So we'll do split on mass points. We'll set that to a negative Boolean. And we'll go ahead and live Boolean is currently on. So if I just turn solo off, we should see, got to turn this one on and that one. And probably hide this other stuff up here that we don't need anymore. And there you go. So live Boolean is really cool, and you can just kind of continue this process, and you can add as many of these things as you like, right? So if I come over, whoops, I don't want to delete, I want to duplicate, and I'm going to do a mirror on this. We'll flip it to the other side. If it'll let me, let's see. So that's going to be the Z side. Z, there we go. Okay. And I can add another one to the Booleans. So you can see very, very quickly, go ahead and merge these down together. And we'll scoot them up a little bit. And now I'm going to make another mirror going up and down. So that'll be, these buttons are very easy to hit the wrong one. Oh, and I've got local symmetry on. So that means it's going to be using its local axis, and you can get bad results when you're trying to do this kind of thing. So I'm going to turn that off. And there we go. So it can begin to look pretty techy pretty quick. And you're just doing some simple operations using live Boolean and primitives. And I guess I used a little bit of clip curve too.